Welcome, folks. This session is on the treatment of social anxiety. Let's quickly recall that social anxiety is sustained by maladjusted behaviors. In other words, there's a lot of imagining that we do in our private time in which we seek to redeem honor, we attempt to look good, we attempt to be validated, and the maladjusted imaginings are the problem. Our social anxiety does not get better because we are perpetuating the fear of being judged in an unflattering way. We are perpetuating that fear by functioning in terms of it. In other words, the intention to redeem honor when you have not lost honor, you just have the idea that you have, is the problem. So no doubt about it, social anxiety is associated with the memory of insult, with the memory of humiliation, with the sense of not belonging. So that's an idea, and it is not the bottom line. So in the recovery process, we do need to get past the idea, so we don't function in terms of it. Again, the compensation, the fear-driven behavior perpetuates it. So there are compensations that you can use, but of course substances like alcohol do disinhibit you to some extent. Of course, that has some beneficial elements. However, when it comes to entering a social situation and having to take a couple of swigs of whiskey before you get there is probably the maladjusted coping mode. If you're over drinking, you may suspect that it is connected to the defectiveness schema, and it's producing your complex. So the complexes occur from both the compensatory coping modalities and the avoidant coping modalities. The answer is mindfulness, and of course that needs to be explained. And mindfulness is the capacity, if you will, this is one definition, to observe in an it is as it is perspective. In other words, it's a non-judgmental perspective. It is a radical acceptance. It is indeed the relaxation response. Let's just give thought to that for one moment. The radical acceptance of life as it is decentered awareness. In other words, we are no longer recognized as the bottom line. The idea of you no longer is the bottom line. The idea of you occurs in awareness, if you will, the bottom line. So that was a brief discussion about social anxiety. If you're listening to this tape, I'm sure you have some insights, but there is a possibility also that you do not realize that if you have social anxiety, that there are mechanisms that are perpetuating the condition. The condition occurs when you open your eyes in the morning and begin to worry and start creating scenarios and then responding to them in your imagination. Overvaluing people's opinions of you is indeed the problem. We do need to move forward towards a divine indifference. And I use the word divine indifference. I know it's a spiritual term. However, it is outside the terms of our constructed reality. The self-conception and our worldview and our values are constructs. So we do want to get to a perspective that has distance on that. That when you move into mindfulness meditation, we may. It is a decentered awareness, and that is an exposure. So once you get exposure, you begin to build schema. Now, let me explain that very briefly. It is like going to France and seeing the Eiffel Tower. You open your eyes, you look at the Eiffel Tower, you now have a schemata, you have a image of the Eiffel Tower. It occurs automatically. You don't have to work for it. And so we're very interested in exposures when we're talking about anxiety conditions, All right. So how do we treat it? Obviously, I have just pointed to non-conceptual awareness, and I'm going to just briefly talk about that before we talk about imaginal exposure to the images of people. And they're both very important, and they both operate on engaging divine indifference. Divine indifference. Now, divine indifference is a letting go. It's also a turning over of your concerns to a greater organizing principle. You do not have to be controlling it or managing it. It knows what to do by itself. In other words, we tend to be healthy through natural processes, and we turn our concerns over to those processes and let go of our controlling, maladjusted, pseudotherapy coping modes. They're pseudotherapy. They do not work. They're perpetuating the problem. In other words, trying to look good, for example, when it's fear-driven, is the problem itself. Trying to redeem honor when it's fear-driven is indeed the problem itself. We need to interrupt that, and we do it in the private moments of our life. We do it in the zendos and in the meditation halls. I do encourage anyone with a social anxiety to investigate the Vipassana or insight meditation, to investigate Zazen, to investigate non-duality, to investigate non-conceptual awareness. You want that capacity to do that. It's going to take a little while if you're just learning about this to arrive at that perspective. It's what it is that we're highly conditioned to identify with our thoughts. And actually, this decentering, this psychological distance, this decentering is not personalizing. You don't personalize your thoughts. They're just happening. They are nature itself. And we begin to rely on nature itself. So this divine indifference can feel uncomfortable because it may feel irresponsible. You're not taking charge of the problem. Well, the problem may well be an illusion. So we have to actually sink into a deeper consciousness. We transcend our problem rather than resolve it. The problem about the resolving model is that if you feel humiliated, you then overvalue self-esteem. Get that idea? The inferiority complex becomes a superiority complex, and you think superiority is going to treat the inferiority. It's not. They're one and the same. So either way you lose. What we need to do is to abandon the complex, abandon the neurosis. You may remain with your defectiveness schema. In other words, the shame base, the humiliation base remains, but it will heal and integrate as you continue to cultivate non-conceptual awareness. That means, folks, minding your own business. That's what it means. You, at last, take back your judgments, constant judging. We just cut it out. And it's a little bit uncomfortable when you first start to do it. However, life takes care of itself. And we do need to have that type of strategy available to us. It's very much like the parable of the lilies of the field. They do not work, and they are taken care of through natural processes. Well, we are much like they are. It is a pointer towards this condition of letting go. Let's let go for just a moment, so we don't have too many thoughts about this. Let's just stay still for a second. So this may be curious behavior to you. However, I did more than just simply stop talking. I sort of let my the work go, my efforts go. Meditation can be understood as a practice. It is always not a practice, however. So we are practicing a non-practice. That might be a bit difficult to chew on. However, that's the situation. You will find that the non-dualist, the Advaita people, very sophisticated folks, discuss refraining from practicing. The irony is that you have to practice non-practice. And we just get used to it. Interrupt judging, stop the chatter 5 minutes at a time, and begin to expose yourself to a world that has a greater indifference. This is not a resentful or irresponsible indifference. This is a divine indifference in which you are turning over the problem to natural processes. You are out of there. You are, of course, those natural processes